Approximately 6,000 years ago, Abraham received the commandment to make Aliyah, to go to Canaan and live. I'm Bob Tarnoff, and welcome to Online. Since that time, approximately 75,000 North Americans, approximately 2,300 people a year, make Aliyah to Israel. On today's program, we will be joined by two experts who will tell us about Aliyah, why people make Aliyah, and the problems that are involved. But first, we have a tape to show you why certain people have made Aliyah.
We're Marilynn and Murray Grant. We came on Aliyah in 1971, almost 15 years ago, from Hartford, Connecticut.
My name is Vicki Newman. I made Aliyah from Los Angeles in 1981.
Been in Israel 11 years. I was from Yonkers, New York. I don't know if you know where that is, north side of the Bronx.
I'm Brian Wine. I'm an attorney. We came here in 1965 in July. So we just passed our 20th anniversary in Israel.
I did not grow up in a Zionist home. I did not grow up in a religious home. And I came to Israel for the first time when I was a college student, when the UJA came up to my university campus and told us what the money does, and would any of us be interested in going for a 10-day student mission. And my attitude was, sure, why not? To live in Israel, it never entered my mind.
I was born in Texas. I spent the first 50 years of my life where the Jews are in the minority, so then I thought I'd spend the next 50 years where the Jews are in the majority.
And it was only when I was in Israel that I sensed that this was the place that I had to be, because I felt, for some reason, more at home.
The reason I came is because I wanted to be part of what I felt is happening in the Jewish people. To me, Israel and what's happening in Israel is being part of Jewish history.
These are North Americans who have moved to Israel. They may be familiar to you. These are the voices and faces of your families, your parents, children, sisters and brothers, cousins, and of your friends and neighbors. Somewhere along the way, they made a choice. They decided to move to Israel and to make Aliyah. Most come with a dream of building homes, making history, and being part of the recreation of the Jewish state. But the decision is always profoundly personal and often difficult to explain.
This was what we had to do for us. We had an opportunity to replant our seeds and to be a part of the rebirth of the state. And when we saw that, that's what we did. And that's why we're here.
Living in Israel is just not like living somewhere else. It's a special feeling for the place where you're living.
States, they say, have a nice weekend. Here they say Shabbat Shalom. You know, all these things. You feel like you're in a Jewish environment. And this is the fascination about living in Israel. At least it is for me, and I'm sure it is the same is true for a lot of people.
People bring the strength of their convictions, but there is nothing simple about making Aliyah. There are many new challenges, and dreams must be nourished.
The hardest part about leaving the States, that's easy. Family, friends, knowing that you have no choice but you're going to be leaving them and you're not going to be seeing them very often.
If I have 4 shirts in the closet, or if I have 15 shirts in the closet, does it really change my life? And I really think, I've thought about those things, because my friends and my life that I left were, this was the sort of thing that was part of that life.
It's a whole new way of doing things. It can be very aggravating, it can be very annoying, and you can think this country is crazy. You can think yourself, why did I come here at all? Because it's such a shock.
And now, joining us on today's program, are Lottie Rosenson, who is the chairperson of the Chicago Aliyah Council, and Joe Romanelli, who is the director of the Midwest office of the Israel Aliyah Center. Mr. Romanelli has actually made Aliyah to Israel. Welcome to both of you on our program.
Thank you.
Lottie, what is the purpose of your organization, the Chicago Aliyah Center?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you, our organization was started 7 years ago. It was started through the efforts of the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago, the Chicago Zionist Federation, and the Israel Aliyah Center. And the purpose of that time was to promote Aliyah, to get people aware of Aliyah, and with that purpose in mind, the Aliyah Center came into, the Aliyah office came into being.
Joe, how does your organization work with Lottie's organization?
Well, we work hand in hand. We both have the same goals. I represent the Israeli section. I'm sent from Israel here to Chicago for a period of 2 years to help people, both those who are interested in moving. It's my job to help prepare them so that their Aliyah will be successful and they'll make a good absorption. That's half the job. The other half is to promote Aliyah, working together with the Chicago Aliyah Council to try and reach as many people, to explain to them how important Aliyah is, not only to Israel, it's critical to Israel, but it's also critical and very important to the American Jewish community, and to try and explain to people why Aliyah is good for them too.
Okay. Why should I make Aliyah to Israel?
You should make Aliyah to Israel, first of all, because you, I'm talking the abstract you now, are a deeply feeling Jew, committed to your Jewish identity. And part of your Jewish identity is a knowledge that Israel is part and parcel of your whole history and heritage. And having, or living in an age when we have seen the rebirth of the state of Israel, you feel that you have to do everything in your Jewish power to ensure that Israel survives and that she flourishes and becomes a homeland for the Jewish people. And the only way she's going to do that is if people make Aliyah.
Well, carrying it to an extreme, if every Jew in North America decided to make Aliyah, could Israel handle everyone? I mean, I know it's maybe a ridiculous question, but how many people...
Israel should only have that problem.
Yeah.
There's so few that come from North America, they should only have that problem.
There's not enough coming from now the Soviet Union and other countries to satisfy the need for people in Israel?
From my point of view, no. I mean, the current Soviet Aliyah is a godsend, and it is so critical to Israel that we have to do everything possible to make sure that every single Jew is absorbed. But that doesn't take away from the need of American Aliyah too, because Americans also, the American Aliyah makes a very important contribution to Israel, which the Soviet Aliyah cannot make at this point in time anyway. The managerial skills, the demand for services, the training that they bring with them, because Israel aspires to be a Western, it is a Western country, but it aspires to the Western a la America mode of services and standard of living. And it's only when you have people who have those skills who can create that demand and they themselves satisfy that demand, that Israel can reach the standards to which she aspires. So by all means we need American Aliyah.
We say in America, join the army and see the world. Promises of training and so forth. What promises do we have if we make Aliyah to Israel?
Well, we in Chicago, for example, we try to help our people in going to Israel. We have an assistance fund. So say you want to go to Israel, when you start to plan to go to Israel, first of all, it costs a lot of money to go. Just getting your belongings there and the things that you have to take with you. We have an assistance fund. We give between $500 up to $1,000 to a person who wants to go in Aliyah. Then when you get to Israel, it's very hard to find a place to live. And there aren't such things as we have here. We have rental apartments. There are very few of those. So the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago has done a tremendous thing. We have a $2 million mortgage fund. So if you want to go and you want to get a flat, we have loans for $5,000 to $10,000, so a person can apply. It's up to the shaliach and it's up to the people involved. The ACI handles that for us. The American Association of Americans and Canadians in Israel, they handle that for us. And they investigate and see just kind of if the people are qualified for a loan. And so we help them with this loan. They're able to find a place to live. We realize the $5,000 to $10,000 isn't too much, but at least it's a start. It helps them out. We do everything we can to help them. We also have a revolving loan fund. Say a person goes and there's an emergency and they have to come back for something and then go back. So we have this emergency loan fund. We do whatever we can to try and see that, to sort of pave the way. And then when a person wants to go to Israel, we have, thank God, we have someone like Joe Romanelli here. We have a Shaliach Aliyah who sees the people, meets with them, talks to them, sees what problems they have, tries to, if people have problems originally, not everybody can really make Aliyah. So he talks and meets with the people and sees if they'll be able to make Aliyah or straighten them out, straighten the problems they had before they go. So we do whatever we can to encourage people to go, so when they do get there, at least they're aware of some of the problems and help make Aliyah easier for them.
Okay, Joe, I want to get to your experiences in a second. You've made Aliyah. You're very involved with Aliyah. You've been very involved with other Jewish causes. Why haven't you made Aliyah, Lottie?
It's a very painful question to me. I feel very guilty about it. When I was very young, a long time ago, my father was very influential in our family, and I had asked him if I could go on Aliyah there, and he did not encourage me to go on Aliyah, and maybe it was weakness on my part I didn't go. My husband and I often thought of going on Aliyah. You know what happens? The children come, and the grandchildren are there, and so we never went. I've been to Israel 23 times, which doesn't mean I made Aliyah. I've worked for institutions that I believe in there to help build them up, but that still doesn't justify it, so I have this guilt complex about not going. And my only hope is that my grandchildren won't do what I did, but that they'll go.
So maybe the answer is make Aliyah when you're
younger. That's for sure. The younger you are, the better you are. As my daughter was telling her daughters, I have a daughter who spent several years in Israel and wants her children to go. And she was saying to one of my other grandchildren, she says, take your wife before she gets her first diamond ring or her first mink coat or anything of value. Just take her when she's young. And I think the younger you are, the easier it is for you.
You see, this shows a difference already, because Lottie's parents discouraged her, and Lottie is going to encourage her children, hopefully, to make Aliyah. So we have a raising of the consciousness of the importance over a period of time, and that's a very positive development.
What was your background? What led you to make Aliyah?
Well, I'm the product. My parents are Venetian Jews. They were both born and raised in Venice. And when I grew up in Brooklyn, my parents would tell me stories of the Jewish community in Venice, and that, I guess, instilled in me kind of the Holocaust experience. And then I remembered the creation of the State of Israel, and I think my turning point came with the Six-Day War. I was working in the U.S. Embassy in Costa Rica, and when it came over the wire that there was a war in Israel, I just panicked, and until it was over, I was kind of glued to the wire presses. And then that started a process of thinking, why had I had such a strong reaction? And one of the conclusions I came to is that Israel is much more important to me than I thought. And that started a whole thinking process, including a visit to Israel, including getting involved.
So were you married at this time?
No, I wasn't. I was single. I got involved with collecting for the UJA. And finally, I came to the conclusion that I won't satisfy my fears unless I at least try living in Israel. That having seen the creation of the State of Israel, I had to try to live there. And I was still single, so I went to the Aliyah Center, which existed then in Washington, D.C., and I opened up a file and I made Aliyah, and I had a very good experience, and ever since I've had a good experience in Israel.
Well, what's happened in almost 20 years since then to Joe Romanelli?
Well, I've gotten married and I have 2 sons. I worked for the Aliyah department. I was, by just sheer coincidence, I found a job soon after my OPA, and I studied Hebrew for 6 months, and then I found a job with the Aliyah department. And almost since then I've been working specifically in the North American area, trying to help Americans make Aliyah and to improve the system, to improve the communications, to explain to people what to expect, to train shlichim. I train other people who do the work that I'm doing, and I've also been able to develop my side interests. I like to sing. I started a barbershop group in Israel so that I have an outlet for my...
oh, you know, we ought to put you on as a program
yeah,
for our next meeting.
Absolutely. And I just feel complete, except for the problem that was brought out in that film clip about the family. That always remains a difficult point, because you leave your family unless you can convince them to make Aliyah. With the exception of that, my family and my close friends, I find life there to be full, rich, and exciting, and as a Jew, fulfilled. I mean, I know that no matter what I do, work-wise, career-wise, the fact that I live in Israel has made an important contribution to the history of the Jewish people, and that gives me a good feeling.
Is there such a thing as a typical type of person that makes Aliyah?
I don't think so. I don't know. Would you
No.
say so? We have singles going. We have married people going. We have people who are going in their old age to retire. We have young people going. I've seen, just looking at some of the people who are going there, some doctors who seem to be making $100,000 a year and they want to go on Aliyah, and then you send people going on Aliyah who can't afford, who you wonder how they're going to make a living over there.
If a doctor's only making $100,000.
No, but I mean, starting out, I'm a young doctor, and then you find people who can't make a living, they think they're going to make it over there. I know you find all, from what those that I have seen, just looked at, there just
really
seems there no one type that wants to go. It's just amazing. Some from religious homes, which you would expect. Some completely irreligious homes, you know, not a Zionist background. You wonder how they come to this decision. So I don't know, you have experience, not me, but from what I see, I don't see any.
I think one of the most extreme cases, a lot of people in their midlife crisis also consider it. People make Aliyah for all different kinds of reasons. I'm thinking of one specific case where the man was a very, very successful plastic surgeon. I mean, super successful. And made Aliyah, and he started working in his profession in Israel, and he got, I guess, tired of it and became a tour guide for a few years, and then he got tired of that. And today I'm told he's a gardener, but by choice, not for any there's no failure, just by choice of how he wants to live his life. But I mean, in the years that I've been there, there've been so many different kinds of stories.
What have you found have been some of the motivating factors in causing people to make Aliyah?
Well, amongst the Orthodox, religion is a prime motivation. I mean, simply, if you're Orthodox, you should be making Aliyah according to the commandments. Amongst the non-Orthodox, you have the family situation, which sometimes drives someone away or seeks Israel as an escape. You have Zionist factors, you have political factors, you have a desire for change in lifestyle, because Israel, for such a small country, offers so many different options in terms of alternate lifestyles: kibbutz, moshav, development town, what we call outlooks, city life, desert, mountains, seashore, Dead Sea area. There's such a variety there that if you want to change, and you don't know what you want, you can, in a very short period of time, in a very small tour, find almost everything.
Joe, don't you think, though, some people might feel it's like America the way it used to be, that they're still part of something new that hasn't really developed completely?
The opportunity to make a contribution, to be perhaps a larger peg in the wheel of history, if you will, as people do it as an adventure. If we take the young single as a category, that kind of a person may try Aliyah as an option without any deep commitment. Just, I'm finished with grad school, I don't know which way I'm going to go, maybe I'll try Israel, see how things are there. And it may work out and it may not. There are difficulties for the young.
So what percentage, is there any statistics on the percentage of people who make Aliyah and then return to North America?
There are no precise figures. We estimate that approximately 40 to 50% of North American Olim come back within the first 3 years.
Well, I'm sorry, what was that number?
40 to 50%. It's a very high figure. If we break that down more, we find that the largest bulk of that is the young single. That is almost we estimate, we don't have statistics on this, we just estimate that about between 60 and 70% of young singles will return within the first 3 years. Another important thing, though, to note is that a large percentage of Aliyah is a second Aliyah. That is, a lot of people make Aliyah not prepared well. They see where their problem areas are. They may come back for a few years either to save money or to retrain or to get married, whatever they see as their weak area, and then come back at some later point. A lot of people have made two Aliyot.
I imagine there are a number of problems that people encounter on making Aliyah, but let me take a typical, let's take a person like myself. I'm 45 years old, I'm an attorney, I have 2 children. What problems am I going to have in making Aliyah to Israel?
Depends on what you want to do there, too.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that I want to fulfill the commandment. I want to become part, as Joe said, of becoming a peg in the wheel of history.
Well, part of it would depend on
Well, if he wanted to become an attorney there, wouldn't he have to go, doesn't he have to have a training, then you have to work for a year for somebody?
Yeah.
I know people want to become attorneys there, but they have to be trained, isn't that
That's
right?
not a problem. You could certainly work as an attorney. The question is, I don't know what your level of, what status you've achieved here, and whether you would achieve that same status there, and whether that's important to you.
Okay.
There's no question you could work as an attorney in Israel. The problems you would face would be the transfer period, where you have to learn the language and learn the Israeli legal system. And by the way, we have courses here in New York to train you for that. You can pass your Israeli bar here before you even make Aliyah. But that would be one problem area. Then the question could be housing.
Right.
I don't know what kind of a home you live in here, and whether you would expect to live in the same size apartment or home, and what your financial situation is like. And then I don't know what kind of education your kids have now, what age they are, because depending on the age of the children, in general, the older the child is, the more difficult it is for the child to make an adjustment. The younger, the easier. I don't know what your wife's profession is, whether the status of her profession, and how important it is to her. These are the kinds of things. When someone comes into the office, we go over all of this, and I try and get a reading where the family is at and what their opportunities are, and I present it to them. This is, from my experience, here's what you can expect in Israel. Can you handle that? And if you say yes, we have ways of doing job searches and pilot trips and things like that. But if the answer is yes, then we go ahead and we start making preparations, arrangements.
You see, that's the wonderful part about having someone like Joe as a shaliach, that they investigate and they're honest about it. They don't try to show you a picture of roses, and then you come there and you find it's not so. They try and give you a bleak picture, tell you everything from A to Z, so that you know what you're getting into, so you realize what you're going to face.
You said that when Joe was talking about apartments, what type of house do you live in? You said forget it as far as being comparable.
I mean, you're going to come from a tremendous home over here. It's going to be very difficult. I assume the tremendous home over here would be a lot more money over there, and be a lot more difficult to find.
I live in an apartment which is considered good middle-class apartment, and it's about 1,000 square feet.
And how many closets
3
do you
bedrooms.
have? Americans are used to closets.
Yeah, no closets. Yeah, you just build in. You take up room space by putting in a closet.
And you'd find how well you can do without some of these things. If you have the right mindset, you can do beautifully.
And I'm sure the whole family would have to have the right mindset. I mean, I can't make of course, my wife would have to make the decision with me, and then my children would have to partake in that decision, because they're going to have to learn a whole new language. And for children, maybe moving is one of the more traumatic things that can happen.
You've just touched on two of the main problems that we often encounter, that very often the husband and wife are at a different level of motivation. And when that happens, we can expect problems, because one is always pushing and the other one is kind of pulling back, because they're just not at the same level. And if the children aren't taken into account, especially the older they are, it can also make for a
How old are your children?
My children happen to be 13 and 17.
No, just as an example, 13 is high school age.
Yeah, that would be, you see, for instance, 17 is a very difficult age to make Aliyah, because it's the last year of high school, and in Israel, it's the last year before the army. So it's just a different mindset. The 13-year-old is still okay.
Right.
Yeah.
13-year-old would be all
it's
right.
It's at just beginning to have difficulties with learning the language.
Now, you mentioned pilot trips before. I mean, I would imagine that's strongly recommended.
Oh, absolutely. If someone comes to the office and wants to make Aliyah cold turkey, I would do everything in my power to urge him or her first to go on some kind of Israel experience, and I would help them find the right one depending where their head is at that point, what they're looking for, why, and I'd find the right framework and have them go first for a visit. It's a very big risk to take to make Aliyah without having been to Israel.
When people make Aliyah and problems occur, are there counseling? Is there counseling for them to go to help them get over the bumps?
You mean in Israel?
In Israel, yes.
Sure.
There's supposed to be
well,
some.
the AACI,
they have the groups to turn to there.
Association of Americans and Canadians in Israel is the major organization that counsels North American Aliyah. Then there's also a religious organization, Tehillah.
Tehillah, they do
which exists here.
I was at a
and
conference the last time I was in Israel. I was at a conference, and one after another got up without even asking them, and got up and spoke how Tehillah helped them once they got there.
And then there are
Unsolicited.
also the government ministries whose job it is to help Olim also. So
do you find that Americans tend to cluster
yes,
in Israel?
I think so.
Yeah.
When my daughter was there for a year, my son-in-law had a sabbatical from the university, so they took 6 months of their sabbatical in Israel, and she moved in a building, and that was at French Hill at that time. And it seemed everyone in the building was American. And it seems to me that, no, it seems to me...
I live in French Hill.
Oh, well, all right.
There you go.
And it seems to me that everybody seems to, the Americans more or less cluster into buildings. Am I right or not?
Yes. Well, I think it's natural. Look, my parents are Italian Jews who moved to America, and almost all their friends were Italian Jews. And I'm an American Jew who moved to Israel and married an Israeli, and almost all our friends are mixed couples. I mean, you just tend to go to your peer group.
All right, we just have a short time left on the program. I've been fascinated by the conference, but I know that you're very involved with the program called Yom Aliyah. And if you could just briefly tell us how that came about and what it is.
Well, about every year and a half, we call Yom Aliyah. And it's a wonderful day. This year we're having it in March 18th. And we have an information booth. Anything and everything you could possibly want to learn about Israel, you could come to that information booth and find out about. We have various sessions going on, sessions about if you want to go to Israel, what you have to bring, what you have to take. We have sessions, what are some of the other sessions we have?
We have sessions on the Aliyah process, housing, employment, alternate lifestyles, Israel programs, banking and investment in Israel. We have the speaker. Our main guest is going to be Minister Without Portfolio, Yitzhak Modai.
We're having it at the JCC, at the Meyer Kaplan JCC this year. And we start in the morning about 10 o'clock. We serve a lunch. We usually get several hundred people there. And
we have babysitting facilities.
Babysitting facilities, take care of your children. And it's the most wonderful opportunity to really, we have all types of literature there. We have people manning the booths. People come and display a lot of materials that they have about Israel. It's wonderful to come and see it.
I want to thank both of you for coming on our program. I'm sure you've whetted the appetite of many people all
so.
over.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us online.